Hey guys, it's Morgan coming back to you with another tech video. Today we are doing fork seals, as I'm sure you can figure out because you're up in the fork seal viewing area of the shop. Today we're working on a 2011 Suzuki DL650. That is a Vstrom 650, or Wstrom as a lot of people call them. We are going to be doing fork seals. I'm just going to be showing you one fork because the other one's identical to it. So anyway, they're the same. Quick little bit of education on at least this Vstrom 650. These forks are completely unadjustable except for the ability to adjust the preload. That's all this does. It's not a clicker to adjust damping. All it does is tighten up the spring or loosen up the spring, adding a little preload to the front of the bike. Therefore, like increasing or decreasing the sag. Honestly, most people don't ever mess with it. If you're really loading one of these bikes down to go for big long trips with a lot of luggage, it can be pretty important to stiffen up the springs just to hold the bike up in the stroke. But anyway, let's start by taking it apart. We're gonna chalk it up in our soft jaws. We got aluminum soft jaws over here. If you guys are gonna do your own forks, I highly recommend getting a set of at least aluminum like inserts to your vise. These ones bolt onto it, but whatever. Anyway. All right, let's chalk her up and take it apart. All right, top nut is a 24 millimeter. It shouldn't be super tight. With most things on forks, you want to make sure you pay attention to any adjustments before you take it apart so you can set it all back. This preload adjuster isn't moving, but I've noted that it is at line number 3, so if when we get done we need to adjust it, we'll put it back to line number 3. What? Oh, is that for this? So here's how it works. If you guys want to see that, it's pretty cool. So this adjuster, you turn it in to add preload. You can see if it'll focus. There we go. That right in here is threaded. As you screw it in, it pushes in on the spring. So actually, probably when I put it back together, I'm going to loosen that up so it makes it a little bit easier to put the cap on, and then I'll set it back at line number 3. One key to doing forks that you've never done before, I have done these before, but if you're doing them, is to set everything down. First of all, I like having this tray. It's a really nice teardown station. It's stainless steel, all welded up so it doesn't leak, and it's got a drain hole down here into a bucket. But I like to take everything out and lay it down in order so that I know how it goes back into the fork. So we got our spacer here. All right, next is the spring. There we go. It's also got a little protector here to keep that spacer from chewing into the spring. Take our spring out. I'm gonna go kind of slow at taking this out because there's oil sticks to it, and this oil is disgusting. Probably never been done since 2011. Right. Now we're gonna drain this into our bucket that we have here. Oh my gosh! You guys can see that. It is not good. I'm gonna let that drain for a little bit. That oil is so disgusting and thick and nasty that yeah, it's going to take a while to drain out, and I don't really want to get it everywhere when I take this bolt out, so we'll be right back. Alright, that thing's had time to drain. Now, if you look down in there, I don't know if you guys can really see it. There we go. There's an Allen down in there. It's a 6 millimeter Allen. That is what is holding the damper rod to the bottom of the fork. So, got to get that thing out. It sometimes likes to spin. So I like to use it compact. Got a long Allen here, a nice one. So this is where having really nice tools makes kind of a big difference. So this is a snap-on Allen. I've had cheaper things like this where it's really long, and the problem is if it's cheaper, they use cheaper steel, and I've had them round off or spin or break. So with snap-on one, generally they don't break, and if they do, you can just give it back to them and get a new one. So, all right, That impact isn't enough for us. That's okay, we have what we need. Just like that. But we won't use that to put it back in because that thing could break or strip or anyway, whatever. But it's nice for getting things out. So there's the bolt. All of these damper rod style forks have a washer, like a sealing washer on them. So make sure you keep that thing, make sure it doesn't stick to the bottom of the fork and you lose it. Put that down there. Now the damper rod is going to come out when I tip it over. And it's still disgusting. It's alright. So this is what does all the damping in your fork on this style fork. It's not really a lot of control, but there is some. It's got holes drilled in it, or probably machined into it, anyway, whatever, that allow oil to come out, and that's what actually really changes the damping. And you can, if you wanted to, you could weld these up, make them smaller, move them up and down. It changes the nature of the way it dampens, kind of like a clicker, but it's way too much work for not enough benefit on a bike like this. So old school motocross bikes, that was like one of the art forms that the guys did, was change those things to make the suspension work better. Alright, like with all forks, we're going to take a flat blade screwdriver, we're going to come in here in between the dust seal and the tube. Put it down here so I don't hurt myself. Once you get it in there, you're going to come like this and twist. That sucker comes up. Take a smaller screwdriver and I'm going to come in here. There's a circlip down inside there. Come in. That guy out. Now I'm just going to slide hammer it apart. There's our disgusting oil. This is seriously gross. Again, guys, I like to lay out this stuff. You should. Got inner bushing, outer bushing, washer, oil seal, circlip, dust seal. That way I know exactly how it goes back together. Even though I'm obviously putting new seals in, but that way they're taking the place, right? So when I get my seals, they're over here, but I'll put them in and I'll just swap the new seals in here and then just go back together. So now we need to clean this up really good. And we're going to take the holder out for the damper rod, which is this guy. All these damper rod forks have something like this that goes onto the bottom to hold it in place, so it doesn't just rattle around. And this is easier machined. It's aluminum. This is steel. Fork legs aluminum. Anyway, whatever. So it goes like that. So make sure we don't forget to put that in, because you can actually put this whole thing together without that, and then it's not good. So before we go to the parts washer, while this still has a film of oil on it, we're going to take our red Scotch-Brite and put a crosshatch in. Alright, now we're going to clean them up. Be right back. Alright, got them all cleaned up. What up, Buttercup? Oh, just doing some fork seals. Yeah. I have to get the parts, but once we got the parts, it'd probably be 3 or 4 days. Not that, Sounds good, dude. All right, we'll see you soon. Okay, so I like to use OEM fork seals on these bikes. A lot of street bikes. On dirt bikes, I use SKFs because I think they're better than OEM in general. But on street bikes, SKF doesn't make a lot of street bike fork seals, and the OEM ones seem to be better. So I'm going to swap old one for new one, put it in its place. So again, I know which way it goes. That's the oil seal. Here's the dust seal. There we go. Go back together. Now these are a little bit different than an upside down fork, or in my opinion, right side up fork, like on a dirt bike, as far as the assembly. You don't have to put out all the seals and everything on and then put it together. And anyway, so what we're going to do, we're going to take our inner bushing and our outer bushing. So now we're going to take damper rod, slide it down in. There it is, comes through. Then we put the holder on it. Then we slide the whole rig in like that. And what that holder does is it helps line up the bottom of that damper rod with this hole, at least hopefully. So take our Long Allen off of its impact. And we're gonna hold this up like this. Come in here. What up?
What's the word? 200 EXC, XC, XCW?
Should all be the same, but it's an XCW. They don't have a top end kit? Oh, so yeah, I just get a piston and gasket. It's a top end gasket kit. So push that up in there, and then we're just gonna do it by hand, and you should be able to kind of feel it. There we go. Now, we'll tighten that down with this impact. It's not nearly as strong as that air one. Alright, now we take our washer. Fork seal driver is a 43 millimeter. How that changed, that sound went ting, higher pitch. That's that bushing finding its home where it needs to go. Now we're going to take our oil seal, and I don't know if I've even talked about this on most things, but there's there's an up and a down on oil seals. The easiest way to do it is make sure you look at the one that you took out, make sure this one goes in the same. But if for some reason you didn't, in here, I don't know. It's going to be easy to see. There we go. There's ridges, and they point towards where the oil needs to be. So it's kind of hard to describe, but basically those lips, they're like little ridges on the lip, and they point down and in towards the oil. So if it were an upside down fork, it'd be up like this, pointing up towards the oil. But that you want those lips pointing towards the oil. That way the oil won't come out. If you flip it the other way and they're pointing away, the oil will seep out. So take this. On these style forks, you really don't need a bullet. They usually put like a chamfer right here. This one does. Put that on. Again, fork seal driver. We'll take our circlip. Finally, dust seal. There we go. Now we're good. You want to take it, move it up and down, make sure everything moves like it's supposed to. Okay, now it is time to put the oil in it, and we got to figure out what the level is. Most of these forks require height instead of a capacity, so I'm gonna go to the trusty Bel-Ray lubricant advisor on my phone. All right. So as you can see right here, let me see. Oh, a little focus. Focus, there we go. Is it focusing? I don't know. Anyway, 32.2 cubic inch each leg is what they're calling for. So let's see what 32.2 cubic inches is, because I don't know. So I used Google again because I don't know that math. That's 527 cc. So that actually does sound about right. So 527 cc's per leg. It does not list a level, so that's easy. That makes this way easier for us. Alright, I'm going to pump it up and down just to get that oil worked into that damper rod. Really doesn't take long. Also, since we're dealing with just a set capacity, it really doesn't matter if there's still some air in there because it'll bleed itself out. So, now, the spring. Here's something that not a lot of people are going to tell you, and something I learned from old school guys way back. So these springs that are progressive like that, they have a tighter wind than down here. This tighter wind, this end of the spring is heavier, right? Because there's more steel there. So that is heavier. This came out with that tight wind down, and that is not what you want. You want the tight wind up, and here's the reason. On a motorcycle,
Again.
Oh.
Disgusting.
I know. Sorry. What a. All right. So, sorry. So, on a bike, there's the weight of the bike, and the lighter the bike, generally, the better. If you can, it makes the handle anyway. Whatever. But there's a big difference between unsprung weight and sprung weight. Sprung weight is all the stuff that the springs are holding up. So, the motor, the fairing, the bars, the windshield U, all that stuff. Unsprung weight is stuff like the wheels, the bottom of the forks, things like that. And so if you put this up, then it is sprung weight. If you put it down, it's unsprung weight. And unsprung weight, the lighter you can make that, the way better a bike will handle. So that's why people go with really light wheels sometimes. Try to lighten up chain sprockets and stuff, like on performance vehicles. This is a Vstrom 650. I know that it doesn't really matter, but if I'm going to do fork seals, I might as well take the weight off the unsprung and put it on the sprung. So, yeah, so we're going to put that up. Put our washer in on that. Then our spacer. There we go. Now, like I said, we've noted it's on line 3. We're going to make this easier on ourselves. We're going to back this thing off so that we don't have to push so hard on the springs as we install it. There we go. Alright, now we're going to screw that back in until we get to line 3. There we go, guys. We're all good. Always take it, push on it, make sure it moves nice and smooth. It does. And that's it. Pretty simple forks, guys. I hope that helps. I hope that you guys use this to do your forks on your DL650. If you do, make sure you comment below and let me know that it helped or didn't help. Let me know if it was a terrible video. Zach, I think, probably thinks this is a horrible video. But I love it because you guys, a lot of people will comment after they've used it to help them do the thing. So let me know. I love hearing about it. Right on. I got to get back to work.